IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach, and today with me I have Swati Pandey, who's the owner of Magicleaf Stevia. It's a brand that I use, and I've known her before she started this brand when she said that we are trying to do something in the stevia space. This was, I think, 4 years ago. And I was so excited by this because that was when I was just learning about stevia and I was exploring it, and I was like, why aren't there so many companies doing this right now? I want to know more about this kind of a natural sweetener. So that's when this whole thought came. And right now we're going through multiple no sugar challenges, and different people are doing this from my Instagram. So I thought this would be a fantastic time to understand what is, sugar alternatives, and what is the confusion that exists between everything. So firstly, Swati, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you, Ashdin, for having me.
We've been meaning to do this for a really long time. It's just that you've never been in Bombay at the same time to come to the studio, and now, Zoom is allowing us to do all these things. It's fantastic.
True.
So, Swati, tell us a little bit quickly about what is it that you do and the company before we dive in straight into the topic.
Right. So, the last 5 years of our lives has been only about stevia. So we've been, thinking, eating, drinking stevia. That is the only thing that we've been working on, just one particular product, which is stevia. And we do everything end to end. So if you're aware, stevia actually comes from a plant. So we do everything from actually cultivating the plant in collaboration with farmers to then extracting the sweet compounds in the form of a white powder that you get in the market to actually formulating products like Magicleaf Stevia.
Okay.
So the initial 2 years of our work really revolved around identifying the right plant variety of stevia. So initially we realized that some people were cultivating stevia, but it was quite scattered, and the variety that they were growing had very low content of the sweet compound. So we realized that if we had to get into this industry and get into the processing bit and the extraction bit, the content was going to be very important, when it comes to the economics of extraction. Correct. So we really started from scratch and, worked on the plant variety itself. And the plant variety that we have today is about 3 to 5 times, higher yielding than any other variety being grown in India.
Super.
And then
but we process it. Why this whole stevia thing? Why did you decide on stevia as something to dedicate the rest of your life for?
Right. So that's actually a very, personal reason. My mother has been a diabetic for the last 25 years. And I've seen her struggle. She's been a severe diabetic, and I've seen her struggle. She has been, consuming other sugar-free alternatives. And she's, one of those people who just can't quit sweets, Yes. So the best thing for a diabetic would probably be to just quit sugar, right, and carbohydrates as much as they can. But for her, it is a struggle, right? She's just not able to, quit sweets. And somehow it makes her feel that, she's kind of missing out on the celebrations. And, when everybody's sharing or eating something, if she can't have it, then she kind of feels, bad. So I just felt like a product like this could actually, impact the lives of many people like her. So that was the motivation. And then, of course, this is a product that's not just limited to, something that diabetics consume. This is for everyone, right? Even for children, which is, something very unique about stevia. Because, because most of the alternative sweeteners in the market, they're not safe for children and pregnant women and certain people with, certain medical conditions. But stevia is safe for everyone. So, if you are a child, if you are a pregnant woman, if you are on a diet, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're a diabetic, anyone can have it. So I just felt that from an impact perspective, this product had a huge potential, and not just in India, but globally. This is an issue that we're seeing globally right now.
Super. So when people get off sugar, correct? They want to say that I want to stop having sugar now, but they can't give up the sweet tooth, just like your mom. Yeah. What are the kinds of alternative sweeteners that exist in the market? I just want you to guide us through this, almost make it a masterclass saying, these are these kinds, these are these kinds, these are these kinds. Because, there's so much confusion around them.
Right. So if you're trying to quit sugar and if you're trying to quit calories, then your best option is to go for 0-calorie alternatives. And there, the leading products in the market contain primarily aspartame and sucralose. So these are the two, compounds that are almost present in every, sugar-free product out there. But both of these are chemically synthesized. Unfortunately, there are products available in the market. I'm not sure if I can name them, but they are actually being marketed as Natura. And, a lot of people think that they are natural, including myself. I mean, I used to think, and that's the reason that I recommended, that to my mother a few years ago, thinking that it was natural. But actually, it's based on sucralose. Which is, again, artificially synthesized. And, the industry is now having, been working in this industry for a few years. I'm now seeing that how much manipulation is actually there. You're making something else and then you're just manipulating the wording and the messaging to actually call it something else. And even for people in the industry, I mean, for us, sometimes it takes time to understand what they're exactly doing and how are they calling a product maltodextrin, which is the high GI, sugar. So one is artificial sweetener, aspartame and sucralose. They are both artificial and they have long-term side effects.
What kind of side effects? What happens?
So aspartame is, so there are some studies that say that aspartame is even carcinogenic. And it basically never gets flushed out of your system. So once you consume it, it keeps accumulating in your body and it never leaves it. Sucralose, on the other hand, is again artificial and it impacts your gut bacteria. And now we are realizing how important gut bacteria is. I mean, it's a vast area of research and we have only started to kind of understand it. So there is now increasing scientific evidence. I mean, there are a lot of scientific research papers. If you do your research, you'll find it. There is a lot of evidence that, now connects the usage of these products with a lot of side effects. In fact, there was a study, I think in Sweden, where they were also exploring the impact of these, the production of these sweeteners on the environment, actually. So, so the discharge, that comes out of these industries, when that gets washed out in the rivers, it actually has a negative impact on the flora and fauna there as well. So that's the artificial sweetener bit. Then you have what is called sugar alcohols, right? So you have erythritol, you have maltitol, sorbitol, xylitol, right? So these are all not sugars.
Alls that are there, correct? Anything with a tol is one of these sugar alcohols.
Sugar alcohol. So they are not sugar, but they are sugar alcohols essentially. Some of these are natural though. So for example, erythritol actually exists in nature. So it exists in a lot of fruits and vegetables, and then we extract them. A lot of companies are also actually synthesizing the same compound artificially now. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to mimic something that's already existing in nature through an artificial process. So that also happens.
This is different from sucralose, which doesn't exist anywhere in nature.
Exactly, yes. Both sucralose and aspartame
doesn't exist anywhere in nature, but a few of these alcohol sugars exist in nature, and we are now trying to mimic what nature has created, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So sucralose and aspartame are completely man-made. I mean, they have been invented by humans. But polyols, a lot of these sugar alcohols actually exist in nature. But the thing is that they all have different properties, right? So for example, erythritol is a slightly milder version of the polyols, which means that you can actually, consume them in, a decent quantity without having any negative impact on your health. While other polyols like xylitol and sorbitol, they actually they impact your, gut health as well. So a lot of people actually complain that when they have erythritol or other polyols, they, they feel that they get bloating and, other issues, which is more, predominant and significant when you consume other polyols as compared to erythritol. So with all these polyols, there is actually a recommended limit per kg of your body weight. And you can, if you have that, within the suggested limit, then it's fine. Otherwise, it causes bloating and gas and diarrhea in some cases and all those issues.
Correct.
Having said that, it's also important to understand that some of the sugar alcohols like maltitol, they are not entirely 0 calories. So they do get, metabolized in our body and lead to some calories. Not the same as sugar, less than sugar, but they do have some calories.
Right.
So that's the polyol. The third interesting thing that I've been seeing is this trend around jaggery and brown sugar and coconut sugar. So all these things are also sugar, right? So they have calories. And if you are a diabetic and if you're really trying to watch calories, then they are not healthy for you also. The logic that people give is that with brown sugar or with jaggery, you're getting a lot of other minerals, irons and everything, which is true given the quantity of sugar we consume these days, but they also have calories. And also with coconut sugar, also the same logic people give is that you get a lot of other beneficial minerals and stuff. But there is no evidence if that is even significant, to have a positive impact on your health. So yeah, broadly that's the landscape right now. And the natural sweeteners, I mean, you have primarily two options. One is stevia, and the other one is monk fruit. So the third option for a 0 calorie alternative is the natural sweeteners, and primarily they are either stevia based or monk fruit based, right? So they are both, they both come from natural source. They are both 0 calorie. But the issue has been the taste, for both of them, both monk fruit and stevia. If you consume the pure compounds, that are responsible for the sweetness in these two, products, stevia side and the mogro sides, they both have a lingering, a slight aftertaste and a lingering. And that has been the reason why it has taken so much time for people to kind of accept it, right? Otherwise, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's a natural sweetener, just like sugar, and it's 0 calories. So why wouldn't people consume it, right? But it was really around the taste, and a lot of people who tried to consume it earlier in the form of the leaf or even the extract, they didn't like the taste and hence decided to not, incorporate it in their lives.
Correct.
But with, scientific advancements and improvements in technology, it is now possible to actually make great tasting products using, stevia or monk fruit. The issue with monk fruit is that it actually comes from a fruit which is primarily, available and grown in China. And they have a GI patent on it, which means that you can't really take out the tree out of China and grow it elsewhere on a large scale.
Oh, really? You can't grow it anywhere?
Yeah, so they have what is called a GI, the geographical patent, right? Geographical IP on it. So you can't freely, take it out of or import it from China and start growing it elsewhere. Also, it's a tree, so it takes, longer for it to mature and then give the fruits and everything. While stevia is a small plant, you can cultivate it and within 6 months you get your first crop. So that way, in terms of scalability, it's much easier. So yeah, these are the options. Apart from this, some companies, including ourselves, we have also incorporated fructose in our product. Fructose is also called levulose. Fructose, like everybody knows, it's a natural sugar. It's a fruit sugar. It's present in a lot of fruits and we consume it almost on a daily basis. The good thing with fructose is that it's low GI. It has the same number of calories as sugar, but it's low GI. So it gets metabolized in our body much slowly, which means that it doesn't lead to a spike in our blood sugar level if consumed in moderate quantities. So that way it's safer. One important thing when, talking about sweeteners and thinking about calories is that not all calories are the same, right? Which has been, I think, the cause of most of these misconceptions. So we are always just, calculating and watching calories, but that's not the right approach because not all calories are the same. They are not treated by our body in the same way. So the complex carbohydrates actually get metabolized in a very different way than, say, glucose or sugar. So that is what is important to understand here.
The important thing, more than, for example, calories, when I look at these sweeteners or any sugar for that matter, is the impact that it has on my insulin, right? So how do these kinds of sugars, artificial sweeteners impact insulin? There are lots of studies that are going around saying that even if you do eat a little bit, the sweetness also impacts insulin. It might could de-rise in insulin even though there are no calories in it. Have you read up any of these studies? Do you know a little bit about them?
Yeah, so there are some studies, that have been done on aspartame and sucralose that say that even if they are 0 calories, they kind of, trick your body into thinking that you have consumed sugar, and hence they cause an insulin response. But to be honest, there isn't much scientific evidence to support that. There are just a few studies, and I don't think they are substantial enough to claim something like that. Of course, if you have any other product, like any other sugar that has calories that gets metabolized in your body or that requires insulin to break down that sugar, then that will cause an insulin response. And that is what is again unique about stevia, that it really has 0 glycemic index and 0 calories, which means that it causes absolutely no insulin because it doesn't get metabolized in our body at all.
Okay. So what is it about stevia that is different from sugar? Is it using a different sweetness pathway? How is it affecting the tongue? Like, how do we get that sweetness from stevia different from sweetness of sugar?
Right. So chemically, it's a different structure altogether. It's a different compound. It belongs to a class of compound called glycosides. And the glycosides are naturally present in a lot of products. It's present in fenugreek. It's present in artemisia, a lot of medicinal plants, a lot of, food products, vegetables that we consume. So this particular glycoside tastes sweet. But the structure is such that it doesn't get metabolized, it doesn't break once it's consumed, by a human body.
So basically, when we eat it, it remains the same till we excrete it.
Yes, absolutely.
So it just has a chemical reaction on the tongue, and that's it as it goes down.
So that's what we know as of now. There is also some anecdotal evidence that when you consume, the stereosides, or when you consume, say, the leaf itself directly, it has a lot of other, medicinal properties as well. So it helps reduce your blood pressure. It also has, immunomodulating properties. It helps build your immunity. And there is some evidence that it also actually helps reduce, your blood sugar level. Not just keep it at the same level, being a sweetener, but also reduces it. And a lot of people actually feel that way. A lot of consumers feel that way, that, ever since I've started consuming it, I've started noticing this. But we don't have enough clinical data to actually consume that. And we don't yet understand how exactly that's working, because it's not getting metabolized in the body. But then why is it still having that impact? So this is something that we have been working on, and we have actually been talking to AIMS to actually get proper clinical studies done and collect all that data that we can then share with our consumers. But because of COVID, obviously that's a higher priority right now. So that got delayed a bit.
Correct. Absolutely. Understood. Yeah. So now let's jump into stevia. So when people say, what is stevia? How would you go about telling somebody who's never heard of what stevia is about stevia? Like, what is the origins? Why are we using it? Should we be using it? Should we not be using it? How would you go about that?
So stevia is actually the name of a plant, right? And the leaves of this plant are extremely sweet in taste. And they have no calories. Now, the source of the sweetness in these leaves is a class of compound called stevial glycosides. And it's actually a mixture of different kinds of glycosides that kind of give a different taste and different properties to the leaf. And that is the reason that if you consume leaf coming from different sources, grown in different regions, it will taste different. Because it's just like any other natural product, like tea or coffee, right? Depending on where it was grown, how it was grown, when it was harvested, all those things, have an impact.
Which is why different products taste so different when you look at stevia.
Exactly. Because it's not just one single compound like sucrose. It's actually a collection of about 38 to 40 different glycosides in the mix. And they all have a different, property and a different taste. Yeah. So what the composition of this mix, that how much of it is stevioside, how much of it is ribodioside A, how much of it is other glycosides will decide the taste. And that is the reason that depending on what technology have you used to actually extract these compounds from the leaf, as well as how you have kind of blended this with other bulking agents, they all have an impact. And that's why, products from different brands can have like huge difference when it comes to taste and other properties.
Correct. So now I have a leaf. How does it become this powder that I put into my tea?
Right. So this is a process that, again, we have developed indigenously. It's a proprietary process that we have developed. Most of the extract, in fact, 95% of the extract that you get in the market today globally is coming from China, and it has been extracted using the exact same technology, which is resin-based. And it's actually quite polluting. It's a very long 19-step process, and they, do a lot of, processing at every step and use a lot of chemicals to actually get to that white, shiny powder level. So when we got into this business, we felt that, what is the point of doing this, right? When you're taking something as natural as stevia, and then if you have to process it so much, then that kind of, beats the whole purpose of it being natural. So we went back to the drawing board again, and we said that, okay, let's see if there's a better way of doing it. So we developed a new technology, which is completely water-based. So what we do is we take this leaf, we steep it in water. So what water does is it takes out all the sweet compounds present in the leaf, along with the pigments and other things present in the leaf. And then we purify it using an electrochemical method to remove the pigments and make it colorless. And then we basically crystallize the compounds from this mixture. So that's how we do it.
So you remove the pigmentation that takes place.
Yeah.
And then after that, so there is water that you get, which is probably very, very sweet, correct?
Yeah.
Which has the compounds in it. I'm not technical, so I don't know how to.
So it's like if you put like any plant, right, or tulsi.
That'll be fine.
I
said you can tell me this is proprietary. I can't tell you. I'll have to kill you after this. No problem.
Right. Sure.
So you have this water.
Yeah.
So Swati, I'm not a chemical student, so I have no idea how this works. But what I understand is there is water, right? This water has to then turn into this powder. How does that process happen? Normally when people say it's processed, chemicals, and that's the main reason why people stay away from sweeteners. So how does it work in this? And if there is something very proprietary that you cannot tell me and that you'll have to kill me after that, please don't tell me about it. But how does it work for people?
Sure. So essentially what we do is we take the leaf, and you could actually do this at home as well. You can take the dry leaf or the wet leaf directly from the plant and put it in hot water for some time. So all the glycosides present in the leaf that are actually sweet, they are soluble in water. So they all get transferred from the leaf to the water. So now when you filter it out, you will now get a very dark green colored liquid. So it has all the glycosides, but it also has the chlorophyll and the other compounds present in the leaf. Find a way to now remove all those, because the final product that we have in the form of powder, it's up to 97 or 99% glycosides. That's it. And there's nothing else in it. So the idea is to basically in this process remove everything else but glycosides. So the way we do it is, most of the companies actually use a lot of chemicals to, coagulate the impurities and the chlorophyll and the pigments. We don't use any of those chemicals. We use a simple electrochemical method. So what this method does is it actually removes all the color and the pigments and everything. And now what you have is a very light yellow colored liquid. And then we get the sweet compounds, we concentrate this, and then we get the sweet compounds crystallized out of this mixture. That's essentially what we do.
So by evaporating the water, it crystallizes in a sense.
It crystallizes, and then to purify it further, like I said, to get it to 97 and 99% level, we have to recrystallize it a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Okay. And then, so now I have this powder. What happens to it then? Is this ready for consumption?
No, so this is a very high intensity sweetener, right? So it's about 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar, which means that, I mean, you could consume it directly as well. But if you wanted to consume it, imagine, having to measure 20 milligrams of this powder precisely to put into your coffee every day.
Correct. Yeah.
And, and this is a very relevant question, and I'm glad you asked this, because a lot of people actually think that, stevia companies are cheating them because they are, mixing a lot of other bulking agents, and it's not pure stevia. There's actually a reason why we have to do it, right? Because otherwise it becomes impossible for a normal consumer to use it. You would otherwise have to keep like a high precision measuring scale in your kitchen and measure like 20 milligrams every single time you make something, or do those calculations like how much you need and then measure it. And also the error that gets induced, during the measurement has a huge impact on the taste. So if instead of 20 milligrams, if you happen to measure, say, 30 milligrams, it would have a huge impact on the taste. And now your product will be like too sweet and you would not like it. So to make it easier for people to consume, we have to, bulk it up with something that's again healthy. And that's also one thing where, brands differ significantly. So what is it that has been used to bulk up the stevia powder? So we actually, as a company, we, stand by being natural in everything. So even the bulking agents that we use in our product are natural. And we took a call to actually use fructose, and a lot of people, asked that why fructose, because it's also a sugar. But we decided to use it.
Correct. I asked this question a long time ago as well to you.
Yes. So we decided to use it because, the dosage that you have, you only take like 1 gram or 2 gram per serving. And out of that, like 0.8% is fructose. And even if that has calories, it's low GI, and it really has no impact on your blood sugar level. So that is the reason we decided to go for fructose, because it's natural and it's low GI and it's healthy. And then we, mix a lot of other fibers that are again good for your gut health. We also use erythritol. Again, we decided to use a mixture of erythritol and fructose because we wanted to keep erythritol to the minimum so that, even if people happen to consume, have like a couple of servings or like 4 or 5 servings in a day, it shouldn't have any negative impact. But a lot of companies, and this is so strange, and this is where I was talking about the manipulation that's there in the food industry. A lot of people, and this is actually standard, a lot of companies in the stevia space, not just in India, but globally, very well-known brands, using, maltodextrin as a bulking agent. And it's a high GI sugar. It has a GI glycemic index of 100, which is even higher than sugar. So it's the same as glucose. So if you consume a lot of it, it's definitely not safe for a diabetic. So they give the argument that, you're consuming just 1 gram per serving. But if you happen to, say, have like 4 cups of coffee and you use like 8 grams there, then it can have an impact on your blood sugar level. So a lot of, manipulation is happening there. Maltodextrin is one. Then people use dextrose as well, which is just another name of glucose. So people use dextrose. They basically mix stevia and dextrose, which I don't know why they do it. It really makes no sense. And they use isomalt and a lot of other, artificial sweeteners to improve the taste as well as give it the bulk. And they are also very cheap. So that's also important to understand.
To you, when you pick up a stevia packet and you look at the ingredients, what are the ones that you should definitely look out for and say, oh, I'm not going to consume it because it has these 3, 4, 5 things in it?
Right. So you definitely should look at the list of ingredients, right? And apart from stevia glycosides, most of the brands actually should, disclose what they're using. So if you see something like maltodextrin, dextrose, isomalt mentioned there, then I wouldn't recommend using it. But I don't blame the consumers as well, because these really are products that are not very mainstream, and even for somebody in the industry, I mean, even I took some time to actually get used to these terms, right, and understand what they mean and what they do to your body. So I would really recommend read up a little bit and get yourself familiar with all these, terms if you have the time. But yeah, definitely do read the label. If you see dextrose there, then definitely a no-no. I mean, it makes no sense to have dextrose with stevia.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. Swati, is there anything else that you want to talk about stevia per se right now? Because the next podcast that we're going to do together is about your journey and how you started this company, because I'm sure the listeners can already see the passion in you for this. So I want them to experience that as well and know what all you'll have to go through to do this, because I've been part of this journey. I've been hearing about it for a while, and that's why something I wanted to definitely share with everyone. It's inspiring for sure.
Sure. Yeah, so one last thing on stevia, and we actually see this and we hear this a lot from our consumers, right? That people take it, consume it, and then they say that, it doesn't taste like sugar. I can tell that, it's sweet, but it's different than sugar. So you need to understand that it is different from sugar, because it is not sugar, right? So it's just like, your honey or coconut sugar or, maple syrup. They all have a different flavor, a different kind of sweetness. And that's what stevia has as well. I mean, it's a different flavor. It's a different kind of sweetness, and it might take some time to get used to. So don't expect it to taste exactly like sugar. As a company, I mean, we are trying our best to actually develop products that can mimic sugar, not just in terms of taste, but also properties, so that you can use it in, cooking and baking and everything. But please do give that benefit of doubt to stevia, because it is not sugar. So it won't, it's not fair to actually, expect it to behave exactly like sugar.
Absolutely. And, I keep telling people, nothing will taste as good as sugar. Okay. And that is just an unfortunate reality. Whenever you go down this whole path of I'm giving up sugar, I'm quitting sugar, etc., nothing is ever going to taste as good as sugar. So you need to get over that fact and say, all right, now how do I train my taste buds for something else? And that's what this whole process is about. So, when we start off with moving from sugar to something else, it's a process and it's a journey. And I keep telling people that, when you give up sugar cold turkey, you start missing that sweet element. So definitely start at this point of time using sweeteners to understand this. Later on, if you want to become cleaner and not use anything, for sure, be that. But at least when you're making a choice, start making a better choice as you're growing along. And that's what happened to me. I remember when I did my first no sugar challenge, I was using every sweetener brand out there, because I had never heard about this whole thing about gut bacteria having a problem or anything about it being carcinogenic. So I was dabake having it. Then I said, oh, maybe there's a better way of doing it. And I remember buying stevia leaves for the first time and using it. And I was like, oh my God, this tastes horrible. How is anybody ever using it? Correct? And then you're like, all right. And then we finally got stevia powder, and you said, okay, let me see if I can start making this work. You start off with a very little. And guys, start off with a very little amount. Don't do too much, because it will end up tasting too bitter and might overpower you. So start small and then start increasing even when you start on consuming stevia. It's not the same amount as sugar.
Yeah, and one tip on usage I would give is that try using it in things like, say, milkshakes or your halwa or kheer and sevai and all those things. Because the thing is that when we come across a sweetener, the first thing we do is we put it in our tea and coffee. Now the thing is that tea and coffee is something that we consume every single day, and everybody is just so used to a particular taste that even a slight change is palatable, and you can feel that, oh, it's not the same coffee anymore, right? It's not the same thing I'm used to drinking every day. So that change seems significant, right? Yes. So I think a good way to start with is try it in your smoothies and shakes and everything. It goes extremely well. There you will literally not feel like it's stevia. You will feel like it is actually sugar, and then move to your tea and coffee.
Lovely. So then start with something that is unfamiliar, then move slowly to the familiar. Allow your taste buds to change along the way.
Yeah.
Correct? Superb. Swati, how can people get in touch with you? How should people order from you? What should they do if they're interested in stevia?
So we have launched our B2C product called Magicleaf Stevia in December last year. And we are selling on Amazon. We are on Flipkart. We are also selling on our own website called magicleafstevia.com. If you want to reach out to me, if you have any other questions, please feel free to write to me. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active there. You can also contact me on social media, Instagram, or you can write to me on email, which is swati@arborealstevia.com.
Okay. And what's your Instagram handle?
That's Swati_Arboreal. I know that's very boring, but easy to find.
All right. Superb. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Swati, for joining us. This was a fantastic podcast. It was like a masterclass in understanding stevia and sweeteners. I'm sure people have taken away a lot of learnings from this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, and I hope it was helpful.
My pleasure. If you'd like to buy a product from Magicleaf, when checking out from their website, don't forget to use the promo code TheHabitCoach to avail of a further discount on that. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. So been a really fun week on the network. Please do definitely check out all the regular shows that you do. But in addition, let me give you a few recommendations. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi talk siblings. Really fun episode. I think you'll enjoy that. Nishad Pai Vaidya is on Cyrus and they discuss cricket and a lot of different things around cricket. I think you'll enjoy that as well. Old friend Parmesh Shahani, he was on Absolutely Right. Definitely do check that out. Tamal Mills was on Edges and Sledges, another episode which I've heard really good things about. I haven't heard it yet. I need to listen to that soon. And guys, Uncle Please Sit, definitely listen to that. They've been killing it. This week they have Abby Phillips, he's a doctor talking about medical misinformation. Last week Paramita Vora was talking about sex education and who needs it. They've been really killing it. Definitely do check that out. And with that, hope to see you again next week.
Hi, I'm Satyajit.
Hi, I'm Racheta.
We are from the Open Library Project and we host a podcast called Paperback.
Paperback is a podcast where we engage with stalwarts and experts from various industries, suggesting non-fiction titles that contributed to their journey in a big way.
We've had guests like Anjali Rana, Dr. Marcus Rani, Dr. Swati Lodha, Ambi Parmeswaran, Apurva Damani, and many more on our show Paperback. Find new episodes every Wednesday on IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.